We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the quantum thinking training, sales bootcamp training. And so this is, if you've been through any other type of sales training, this is very, very, very different than any other training you've ever been through. So you've never been through anything like this. Um, Top Gun or quantum thinking is it's advanced, it's beyond physics. And so physics kind of tells you this is how you build bridges and skyscrapers. And so it's physics, it's like that. Quantum, in the quantum world, it's so strange, it's different. It's like, wait a minute, it's taking it to another whole level that we've never even considered, we've never even thought of. And that's really what the Voices of Integrity for the quantum sales boot camp training is all about. So depending on the level that you're participating at, really quantum thinking is required for every area of life, like sales is required for every area of life. You probably will hear a lot about Tom Kuntz. He's the most recent past president of Century 21, so largest real estate franchise in the world, over 140,000 agents in over 70 different countries. Tom and I have been friends for over 20 years. He and I co-authored a book, Community Business Partnership. He helped raise over $100 million for Easter seals. Phenomenal guy. And so there's so many stories that I've got of him that'll connect back into life and business. A lot of times, like if you don't look at yourself as a salesperson, that's fine. Me either. I don't as well. I won't probably share it on this first podcast, but I will share it in the future, my story. Another person you'll probably hear stories about is Peter Miles. He's the most recent past president of Rolls-Royce, past board member of BMW. Another celebrity is going to be JoJo. She's my 8-year-old granddaughter, and she hangs out with Grandpa every week at with Alvin Miller, who owns the Mercantile in Shipshewana, Indiana, northern Indiana. And then there's a whole bunch of other stories about sales as well. The protocol is what we do is we jump on and we ask questions. And so, what are you having? What are you starting with? What do you have covered? What'd you do yesterday or last week, depending on the level that you're participating at? You may, participate with one of these a week, or you might participate daily. Obviously, the more you participate, the more you're going to get out of it. You're going to be introduced to many models and systems. And so one of those is going to be the BOSS system. And so the BOSS system is the business operating system. It's the engine that runs our business. We earn the money, we earn, work the hours we work, have the stress and life balance we do or don't have based on that engine in our business. There are 3 components to the engine: DNA for people, business, and life. In sales, you're going to be utilizing all of these. And so DNA for people is the ability to identify somebody's personality in 17 seconds. Once you identify their personality, you know their strengths, weaknesses, what they like, what they don't, turns them on, turns them off, if they're married, who they're married to, conflict marriage. You know more about them in 17 seconds, literally, than they know about themselves. So that will help you in sales like crazy. The DNA for business, we'll cover that in just a quick second here. And then DNA for life, there's over 500 natural laws that we've discovered in the last 30 plus years. These natural laws govern everything. And so, like the law of gravity, you jump out of an airplane and you're going to fall. You're going to die. And halfway down, people will say to me, Mark, you said I was going to die. I haven't died yet. You must be wrong. I'm like, okay, we'll see. And then squat, smoking hole in the ground. It's great to have all of you on live. And, if you're in Top Gun, I'd recommend it. But I know that's, early, especially for you East Coasters or West Coasters, rather. It's pretty early there for you. And so in the natural DNA for life, the natural laws, these will help you succeed in everything that your heart's desires, like your life vision, like what were you put on this planet to become? So sales, you're selling. You can make a lot of money. But it's not really about the money, because when they say, but in sales, kind of is, it's about selling. And so they say money doesn't buy you happiness, and that's true, but a lack of it creates a lot of issues. But a lot of it creates a lot of issues as well. And so, well, maybe I will share, since this is the first one. Um, I have three bachelor's degrees in business, one in finance, one in management, one in marketing. When I graduated, I had 6 job offers coming out of college. So my resume looked pretty good with the 3 degrees. I was married, had been married for a couple years, 2, 3 years. I had a great job history. I had leadership training. I had started a number of my own companies, so I didn't think it was that impressive, but the resume looked pretty impressive. So I had 6 job offers come. The only job I knew I didn't want to do is sales, because I didn't like salespeople, didn't want to become a salesperson. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna. But my wife and I, she was 19 and I was 20 when we got married. She graduated at the same time I did with her elementary education degree, and we decided to start a family. And so she was actually 3 months pregnant when I took my first position, which was sales, 100% straight commission sales. So I knew I didn't like salespeople, don't like selling things. I don't look at myself as a salesperson. I love people, I just don't like them. So I'm not naturally charismatic. I'm not naturally outgoing. I can sit in a room and not talk to anybody, and I am fine with that. So it's evidence that if you learn how to sell, you can sell better than the people who are naturally gifted in sales. So there's an absolute science that you're going to learn in quantum thinking, sales boot camp training. And I've been selling now for, well, really my whole life. And so I had 2 days, started with a little tiny company, a small mortgage company. They'd only been in business a couple of years. And they gave me 2 days of training and they said, Mark, go sell. I went out there and got destroyed. It was in the mortgage industry. So I was a loan officer, a mortgage professional. So I helped people get mortgages for the home. And so I made $1 an hour the first 3 months. This was not good because now my wife was 6 months pregnant. And I went into the president of the company and I literally pounded on his desk and said, Tony, I'm doing everything you guys are telling me to do, and none of it's working. And he says, well, Mark, it takes 12 to 18 months to really build your book of business, which they didn't tell me at the beginning. And so, but I didn't have time to whine about it, complain about it. It's like, and of those 6 job offers, 3 of them came back to me and said, Mark, you are the perfect profile. Your personality, your drive, where you're at in life, what you want in life, you are perfect. And they were good jobs, like good salary, plus commission. They had, company car. I mean, everything was just, they were good jobs. And when you're making $1 an hour and your wife is, 6 months pregnant, and we bought a house at the same time from what I had earned when I was in high school. And, but we couldn't afford to put, drapes up. We had to put, bed sheets up for the curtains, which is a great story later. But when you're getting pounded in sales, like you're working hard. I mean, like crazy hard, and you're making $1 an hour, and your wife is 6 months pregnant. You start to think maybe my in-laws were right. Like my father-in-law, when he found out that I had 6 job offers and I took 100% straight commission, like, Mark, just curious a little bit about that. And he says, wouldn't it be smarter if you went ahead and, got a real job and got yourself established? And then once you got established, then you could go ahead and go in and take some risk. And I knew that it wasn't going to get easier. I mean, if I didn't take the jump now, I would go ahead and I might still be in having a real job. And so I went ahead and, so I said to the president, I said, well, I don't have 12 to 18 months. I got to do something now. He says, well, what do you think you ought to do? And I said, well, I think I ought to do this, this, and this. I gave him three things. He said, well, go do them. Fortunately for me, I'd started a number of my own businesses when I was in college. One of those was a computer business. And so I had more computing power at home than the whole company had. So I said, Mark, you're not a real interesting kind of guy, kind of average, below average. And you don't really like people. You love people, but you don't like them. You're not outgoing. You just blend in with the crowd. So what are you good at? And I said, well, I'm good at studying other people and then good at putting systems in place. So for the next month, I started developing a tool that will give me an edge, will give me leverage out there. So it took me a month to come up with that first tool. I'd been out there for 4 months, went out there with that first tool and accomplished more. I accomplished more in a week than I had in 4 months. 6 months after I joined that company, I was promoted to a regional manager, but still doing 100% straight commissions. 6 months after that, given a position as marketing manager. A year and a half after that, offered a position as vice president of sales with an equity position in the company. I had a goal of being in six-figure income within 7 years, and this was 40 years ago. And being an executive level management, I was able to accomplish that goal in a year and a half. My 7-year goal in a year and a half. And when I left that company, I was 27 years old, on track to make $460,000 a year, over $460,000 a year. And I walked away from that and $1 million in equity to go ahead and pursue what I believe God put me on this planet to do. And I had 3 kids at the time. And so straight commission sales is hard, no question about it. It's really hard, but there's something much harder, and that's starting your own company, especially if you got to go ahead and have a lot of money that you're putting in. So, the first one I would go ahead and recommend that you watch. The first video is on Karate Kid. Do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told. Do it with a great attitude. Don't get cocky. The more you know you don't know. Bill Gates went ahead into Microsoft, founder of Microsoft. He said when Microsoft was at the pinnacle, at the peak, at the top of where they are, he said we're 18 months of going out of business. Business is brutal. It's a jungle out there. It doesn't matter how cute of a zebra you are. You run slow, you're going to get eaten. You just are. So the marketplace doesn't care about you. It just doesn't. It doesn't care, where you're at. And so it's the beauty of the marketplace. It's the jungle. Most people would rather live in the zoo than that's having a real job than live in the jungle. I would rather, die in the jungle than live in the zoo. It's just kind of how I am. So we'll talk about that and a bunch of other stories. These stories are significant. Internalize them. Like with Tom Kuntz, like he went ahead and after 7 years of knowing each other, he laughed and he said, Mark, you're just, I've never met somebody that has a brain like yours. How you think? I laughed. I said, okay, I don't know what that means. He said, I'll tell you a story once. One time I'll tell you a story. And you'll bring that story up 3-4 years later. It's like you have a photographic auditory memory, especially as it relates to stories. Like I think like Alvin Miller, he's in his mid 80s. I wish that when I was you guys' age, I wish I had a mentor. I really do. They're priceless in what they're able to give. But, a lot of people, they go ahead and take what they think they can take from the mentor, and then okay, I've got everything. You got nothing. You got no idea how much that they can give you in network and knowledge and wisdom and everything. And so don't ever go ahead and lose the childlike faith, and don't ever go ahead and have pride and ego kick in and say, okay, now I've got it figured out. Shoot, I'm 62 years old and I still don't have it figured out. So let's go ahead and dive in. We have the 530 grid. And so you have 5 areas in business: marketing, pre-sale, sales, servicing, client relationship for life. Then you have It's like a pipeline. You're only as strong as your smallest pipe. And then you have these 5 areas. There's 6 levels of proficiency in each of these. And so when Tom Kuhn saw this the first time he saw the 530 grid, you guys probably didn't see this, but he did. I mean, think about that. The president of the largest real estate franchise in the world. Think about 140,000 salespeople. Like that's a lot. And when first time he saw this, he's like, "Holy cow, Mark, this is insane." I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." He says, "I don't think you understand what you have here." I'm like, "I think I do, but okay, what do you think I got? What do you think we got here?" He says, "It's the holy grail for business." And he said, "This thing would work with a kid with a lemonade stand, or it will go ahead and work with, Fortune 100 company, $1 trillion company." I'm like, right? So study JoJo. JoJo understands things that adults don't understand. So I don't know, 6 months, a year ago, she says, "Hey, Grandpa, can I go?" I talk about Elvin and meeting with Elvin Miller. And she's like, "Can I go with you, Grandpa?" And I'm like, "Sure, sweetheart." So every week she goes. And when we miss a week, she's so disappointed. And so she wants to go ahead and be a beautician. She wants to cut hair and do all that kind of stuff. And so she's 8 years old, and she told her mom, she says, "Mom, I want to be a beautician." And she's like, "Sweetheart, you're 8 years old." She's like, "Well, let's talk to Grandpa because he'll make it happen." And so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to convey. Like I want to pour down, I want to pour down 62 years of experience into each of you. And I don't know how to do it. And so like Tom Coons, like I've never had a mentor. Tom's the closest thing to a business mentor I've ever had. And I told him, I said, "I appreciate everything. You've changed my life." He said, "I think you've been far more of a mentor to me, Mark, than I have to you." And he's like, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. Well, I feel the same way to him. What's sad is I very well might learn more from all of you than you will from me. I hope you all learn far more from me than I do you, but I might learn more than from you than you do me. Why would that be? It's because I'm a really good student. I'm watching like you cannot even believe. Like it's crazy how much I see in people. And I want to teach you all how to do that too. There's white papers. I'm going to throw out little suggestions. You can either take them or not take them. It's your business. And so, learning to think differently through engineered clarity. And so there's, WIFM, it's the vaccine inoculation against self-righteousness or pride. That'll kill you. You're going to, you're going to die business wise, life wise. The pride gets in. So it's a concept of selfless selfishness. And then consistency and committed. You might think you're consistent and committed. But maybe not nearly as much. I went and ran with my granddaughters, their first marathon. Fortunately, they're like 6 and 4, and it was only with their baby sister, and Grandpa's running with him. It was only a mile, so it wasn't bad. And so, but you see all these people running, and you see that's like being in sports. Like, how do you play sports? Do you play to win? In sales, do you play to win? In life, do you play to win? In relationships, do you play to win? I play to win in everything, like everything. Drive and discipline and clear communication and success through self vaporization. This one, how do you be the best student in the world? My oldest grandson, who's now 14, he co authored this book when he was 5 years old. You want to learn to be a great student, study the small children. I mean, that's why they learn so much. It's insane. So I would go through, and they're short white papers. I'd read one of these a day, and then I'd manage up and out. I'd do a reflection on them. Like, what do you think of it? What did I learn? What action am I going to take? And what do I need to take next? And so, in you have marketing. And so, how do you generate more and better leads? You can't sell if you don't have leads. You got to get leads. Sales is once you get a lead, what do you do with it? The sale is the yes or the no. All of these require sales skills. It doesn't matter where you're in business. It doesn't matter if you're a high schooler and you're a part-time receptionist, you're in sales. Everywhere you go, you're going to go ahead and use sales. It's not the best idea that wins and gets advancements within a company. If you're an employee, it's fine. You don't have anything to do with sales. You do have something to do with sales. You want to make more money. You want to go ahead and have bigger impact. You want to advance within your company. It's sales, because it's not the best idea that gets implemented that you advance. It's if you have a mediocre idea implemented will always produce greater results than the best idea that's never implemented. There's a lot of talkers out there. And then area 4 is servicing, but you're selling then too. And then in client or relationships for life, how do you build lifelong relationships? Naturally, we're going to be going through here. And so in the higher levels of the quantum thinking, you're going to have access to a whole bunch of courses. One of the first courses you go through is leverage. Another course you should go through is going to be personality masteries. This will accelerate your learning a lot. So we're going to get in and have Kenny and Luke give you kind of an example of what we do on a daily basis here. And so but before we do that, we're going to dig into each of these boxes. So there's six levels of proficiency. As you get into levels 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they get more advanced. You're building on the previous ones. This is different from any other education you've ever gone through. And so a lot of education, you got to retain it until you take the quiz or the test. Everything, this is over 40 years of development to create this program. And so everything you're taught, you're going to use. It's not a matter of if you use it, it's just a matter of how quick you use it and how well you use it. So let's go ahead and dive in and give you guys an example. Kenny, what you got for us today?
Probably just an update from last week. So Ron, the guy that I had met with, um, for dinner, lunch, something, whatever it was. So I closed that job last week. It'll be a big job for us.
Nice. Congratulations.
This
That's
fall,
awesome.
later this fall. Um, Outside of that, I'm just trying to balance the dreamscape work and my training and to not neglect one for the other.
Oh yeah. So it's fascinating to me. Like when I was in college, I was taking 18 credit hours. And so that's like you're supposed to put in 3 hours of work for every credit hour. So that's what, 60 hours plus a week of work. So it's full time. It's the highest load you can take. So I was married. I was going for my finance degree, taking 18 credit hours, hard classes. I mean, super hard classes. And I went in and I was a deacon at my dad's church. I was married, had a full-time job, had a couple part-time jobs to pay my wife and I way through college. And then also had started a couple companies as well. And I'm like, I am going to go ahead and be buried. I mean, so what I did is I went ahead and I time blocked that semester. So 13, 14 weeks. I time block every 15 minutes. I planned it out 7 days in advance. And this is what I'm going to do. And then I tried to follow through on that time block as much as I possibly could. And man, did I do good that semester. Holy cow. I got great grades and I'm not the best student in the world. And so I got great grades and, kept up with all my other responsibilities. The next semester, so I got my degree in finance. Next semester, I went for my marketing degree because Rosanna was still, working through her elementary education degree. And so I went for my marketing degree, only had 15 credit hours, so 30% less, easier classes. And I went off the time blocking. And so I went off the time blocking and I got worse grades that semester. What I learned from that, which was never on a syllabus, is I got a lot of time. Remember, always write this down, memorize it. There's 1,440 minutes in every day and 10,080 minutes in every week. You and I have a lot of time. I mean, a lot of time. I mean, so much time. That was helpful because starting a company, especially when you don't have a product or service and you're developing everything. So at one point, and then 9/11 happened and, 7 kids, and I'm working 110-hour weeks. But I'm still dating my wife every week. I'm still, having family nights. I'm still tucking the kids, in bed every night. I'm still, hanging out with them, playing with them, doing things. So it's fascinating to me on how people say they don't have time because they're not good stewards of their time. And so what you do, Kenny, is like an airplane is built to fly. It's not built to sit on the ground. It'll actually wear out faster on the ground than in the air. You and I, as human beings, we are designed to be amazing. We just are. But a lot of times we're just sloppy, sloppy, lazy, undisciplined, pathetic, stupid. We just are as human beings. And we mock, whine and complain and we're victims and we're entitled and we're self-righteous. And so you run tight, Kenny, and like those early years were so good for me. They built a foundation of discipline and thinking and how I do things, and it's just crazy. So enjoy these times. Enjoy these times in being able to go through it. The pressure point analysis that helps you to go ahead and track your efforts and soon efforts and results and connects it back together. Um, in the book Good to Great, uh, in the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, uh, great companies, great individuals are disciplined people, disciplined thinkers, and disciplined in taking action. You know, when you own your own company, when sales isn't what's happening, what do you do? There's a sales death cycle that I call, and it's like people do a little less work. No, 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 no. When you get discouraged, when you get frustrated, when you lose that sale that you worked 6 months on getting, when it didn't go through, you work harder. You just work harder. Like you do the opposite of what you think. You don't ever give up. You don't ever quit. I mean, it was tempting to quit after 3 months. I mean, 3 job offers. I mean, and what's kept me is I said, Mark, you've never failed at anything. You're not going to start now. And so, what do you need to do? And I did those things. And so, it's really, really important. The mental is what's the hardest thing in sales. You have to have knowledge, but then you have to have discipline, tremendous amount of discipline. Luke, what you got, sir?
Um, so when I think we're at the point where we're looking for a salesperson for our company, how do you know where to start or like,
Well, you guys are doing well. When from one vantage point, you're doing well. From another vantage point, you're not. So it depends on which way you look at things. And so, it's like a chicken or an egg. Like you guys are struggling with following the system, the sales system. And so you're going to feel that most, as business owners, you're going to probably be more committed than any of the team members will be. And so if you've got difficulty doing that, so I guess I would go ahead and you start now, but if you want you like your children are going to pick up your weaknesses and won't have your strengths to offset your weaknesses. Then they'll have their own weaknesses. Same thing is true with team members. So any salesperson you bring on, Luke, they're going to go ahead and have, any team member you bring on, they're going to pick up your weaknesses and they won't have your strengths. And then they'll have their own weaknesses. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I think you ought to do it, but you need to listen to me a lot more, like a lot more. And you got to get your act together. And questions on that, Luke?
I don't think so.
And so in the powerful mind models, another great thing here, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff going through here. And so the more you can, it's how you think. What's the difference between, making 10,000 and 25,000? It's how you think. What's the difference between 25 and 50? It's how you think. A difference between 150, 100,000 and 50, it's how you think. What's the difference between making 250 and making 100,000? It's how you think. 500,000 versus 250 is how we think. So learning to think differently, like the iterations to success. I mean, the person who first cracks this code, like if it takes 100 steps to see success, well, if it takes you a year to each step, you're going to run out of life. How do you take? So I've never had in my whole life. Dan Graham, he used to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's the closest thing to the salesperson that did what I told them to do when I told him to do it, how I told him to do it, do it with a great attitude. And man, did he see success. It was insane. Then he moved in, started his own company. I remember probably 3 months after he started, came into my office when I was VP of sales, and he came in and he's like, Mark, okay, what do I do next? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you do next? He's like, what do I do next? Like I've done everything you've told me to do. Now I want to know next. I'm like, okay, well, how's it worked out? He says, it's worked out great. Everything you've told me, it works. I'm like, whoa, I can't believe it actually worked, because I can't believe people actually do it. Like people try to cut corners, and that's not so good. It's just not going to work. You can't game the system. You cannot game the system. And so I would encourage you, like in the coaching, in the next dimension principle, we'll get into all of this here, but right now we'll close up with this. And so Luke, I would go ahead and ask for, so you have the 4 levels of coaching. So you have the cheerleader coach. This is the amiable that gives you encouragement, tells you how good you're doing. Oh, you're doing so good. And then you have the teacher coach. This is instruction, like do this, this, and this. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Just like they've got your best interest at heart. Like do what they tell you to do, when they tell you to do, how they tell you to do a great attitude. It's not complicated, and then you have the coach. This is somebody that's an expressive. So this one's an analytic. I'm really good at analytic. I struggle a little bit with, with amiable. Really good with analytic. I can tell you what to do, how to do it. I can tell you these things. This is the science behind it. The coach is the expressive. I struggle a little bit with this. If somebody's going to kick your butt, like Tom, he's really good at this. Like he'd kick your butt and you'd say, thank you, Tom, give me another. Like it'd be just like, I'm not so good at that. I struggle with that. And then the Navy SEAL, that's the highest level. And, you just do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told, do it with a great attitude. That's what you do. They are there to save your life. They are there to go ahead and complete a mission. And that's what you do. And most people get stuck in some level, and they don't listen. They don't listen well. So I would get somebody and I would go ahead and have them. You guys are on Action Vision, which is great. You guys are, using EVAs, which are awesome. So those tools and resources will help you. But like Tom Kuhn says, trust the integrity of the system. On a 1 to 10, based on you guys' actions, I would say that you guys probably are about a 3 or 4 on trust the integrity of the system. And the success you guys are seeing is phenomenal. At a 3 or 4, I mean, imagine what if you were a 10? Always remember, this is a great start. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.